conversations that you're going to have in order to pursue what you want for this one precious life. So Wendy, you're worth it. And part of the thing that I want you to remember is that the most important words in the world are the ones that you say to yourself. I want you to start visualizing you being and doing the thing that you want to do, the person that you want to be or become. Okay? It's critical. Thank you for that. Thanks for being vulnerable, Wendy B. All right, from the Creative Life class page, Kim, I'm being creative. I'm doing a live weekly podcast, writing blogs, etc. But how do you grow a small audience? Here's the good news, Kim. You're doing it. You're doing it. And right now, by putting it out in the world, there's some people who are going to type in their name, Kim Ayers, and familiarize themselves with your work. That's part of what a community means, right? You're doing it with others, in front of others, on display. Now, I'm saying your name, Kim Ayers, in front of, I don't know how many thousands of listeners, 4,000, 3,300 people in this class. Now more people know that you are doing a weekly podcast, writing blogs, than knew before this broadcast. Now, how many people stick around after reading or seeing or watching or listening to your podcast? I don't know. That's up to you getting better at your craft. But I do know that participating in this community is a thing that matters. So I also find, this is where I'm going to give you some tough love, Kim, which is people want to have an audience or build an audience faster than it happens. It's totally natural. Just do yourself a favor and don't wish to skip this step. Don't wish you snap your fingers and have a large audience, because what I found to be true for most people is that right now you have nothing to lose. Your first podcast probably sucked. Your sixth podcast is going to be a little bit better, but not great. You're probably going to need to do 20 or 30 podcasts before you find your voice and your stride and the audio mixing sounds right. And having a 1 million person audience before you did any of that is probably going to keep you from doing it. So I ask you not to wish ahead of where you are. Just wish to do the work, be willing to put one step in front of another and do another podcast and write another blog post and tell people about what you're doing. And it's in this process that your audience will grow. But also, just know that when you have 1 million people listening to you, without having fortified and refortified your mindset and your muscles around this activity, you'll start to realize, wow, now I've got something to lose. So you have a different battle to fight. This never ends. It never ends. But it's worth it. That's what I want you to take away. The audience part will come. Remember, IDEA. Imagine, design, execute, amplify. Amplify is the fifth week in the class, the fourth part of the book, intro 1, 2, 3, 4, is all about community and all about building that audience. And I like to think of community rather than audience. I'm going to let you use your words, but it's coming. Right now, you need to focus on the dreaming and the doing. It sounds like you're doing it. Great. But I promise you, over time, it's going to get better. And the process of getting better at your craft is in part what will build and grow your community. All right. Also from the Creative Calling Book Club class page, again, if you're on Facebook, this is where I think the best stuff is. There's some more materials there at creativelive.com/book club. This one's from Margaret Carter. I may be mispronouncing Margaret, T-H-E, Carter. Any advice on how to stay connected to your why at the same time as trying to make money? I feel like the harder I work on making money, the more I struggle to remember how I actually bring value through my art. Love this, and it's rather paradoxical. I agree. Most people, I believe, want to monetize their thing too early, and they get themselves in this relationship of this stressful relationship with money. And it's part why I asked you to write earlier in this particular class and this particular broadcast today that I wanted you to start thinking about your relationship with, remember, with money was a really key thing, right? Money is, and if it sounds to me like you're probably defining success by how much money you make doing a thing. I promise you're going to be better off by postponing the idea of earning money on day one in favor of practicing your craft. Just think of the advice that I gave to Kim a second ago. Similar advice to you. Most people want to monetize on day one. They get 100 Twitter followers and they think, how can I monetize those 100 Twitter followers? I find that actually undermines your macro. And so this is why I like, whenever possible, mid to long-term vision is really helpful. And it's also why I do not like sort of going all in, push all your chips on black and hope for the best, take out that second mortgage in your house. No, I think you need to start doing this on the side, whatever it is. I think this is like the idea of transitioning is one of the least understood but most powerful concepts that the entrepreneurs that you respect the most have mastered. Of course, you read about Richard Branson just buying a used 747 to start Virgin Air, but he had already created enough success for himself through his record label that wasn't as big a risk as it sounds. And he pre-negotiated the ability to sell it back to Boeing at a guaranteed price if it didn't go well. So he wasn't really risking the $100 million that it takes to buy a 747. Let's say he was only risking, $85 million because that was, or sorry, $15 million because he was going to be able to sell the plane back for $85 million, bought it for 100, tried it, didn't work, sold it back to them for 85. So there are all kinds of ways to mitigate failure as an entrepreneur. But right now, I need you to think about how you can compartmentalize by working a different job or creating as much time and space for the thing that you want to be doing as possible. Again, all this is in the book, such that you can create as free from the money constraints early on as possible. I'll give you a little story. I actually found great joy in being aware that when I started taking pictures with my Palm Trio, 0.2 megapixel Palm Trio before the iPhone, and then again with iPhone 1, when I started taking pictures with those cameras that were embedded in the phone, I in part found the most joy because they weren't tied to money. And ironically, it was my passion for something that just brought me great joy to take a photograph with a camera that I always had on me that led to some of my largest, creative and entrepreneurial success. So define how you think about money, define how you think about the people you keep, define creative control. Do that part, the big three here in this first part of the book. And I think that will help you. Again, that's M. Carter. All right. We've got 5 minutes left. I promised to teach for the first 60 minutes and then take 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes of questions. And I'm doing that now. So scanning. Marcelo seems to see an error. Sorry. If you've refreshed that, feel free to go to a different page. If you're on the Creative Calling book page, creativecalling.com/book club, check out creativelive.com/TV or my YouTube or my Facebook, because there are vibrant conversations there. For some reason, chat's not working for you. All right. So Jolenta is asking about the title of the book. You must be late to the broadcast. That's no problem. The title of the book is Creative Calling by yours truly. It's about creating a life and a living that we love. All right. Let's see. What's a great question? Drew is flagging a point that I made earlier, which I think is a good one to amplify, and that's there's this asymmetric risk reward profile, that's in a sense what Richard Branson was doing when he started Virgin Airlines. That in pre-negotiating the ability to return the 747, he was managing the downside. And again, this idea of transitioning to things that are new is what I think are wildly understood. But the entrepreneurs that have done it the best, the creators that have done it the best, they don't just, if I'm doing wedding photography and I want to go over to drag racing photography, they don't just draw a line in the sand. And when some wedding photographer or a subject calls about photographing their wedding, they don't say, sorry, I don't do that anymore, hang up, and go wait for their next drag racing client to come up. This is a terrible example, but I think it's kind of funny. The reality is you should continue to take those calls, but you should be marketing yourself as a drag racing photographer. And when these people call, you're still doing this work, but your advertising over time turns into you being able to sustain a full-time job as a drag racing photographer. So again, that is making sure that the risks for transitioning or the risk for taking the chance are outweighed by the long-term potential gain of doing what you love, having energy and abundance in your life relative to that risk. All right. And the title of that book, Mother to Daughter to Disappoint Her. I don't remember if what I gave an example of disappointing others. Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It was a fantastic conversation. If you go to Creative Live and search Glennon Doyle, or if you go to the creativelive.com/TV page, that conversation between yours truly and Glennon is recorded there. I think it's a stunning conversation. And the book, her most recent, again, #1 New York Times bestselling book, is called Untamed. Yeah, thanks for putting that in the Terry Pruitt. Just put that in the comments there at YouTube, and maybe some folks can do it at CLTV or on the Creative Live chat and at Facebook. Untamed by Glennon Doyle. All right. Tula asks a great question. I'm going to do this and one more. How to tell the difference between signature style and just repeating the same thing over and over again. Stagnation or a she or Tula. I'm not sure if Tula is a he, she, or they, so I will ignore that part and just say being a copy paster of one's self, especially photography, as in my photos have long been the same old, not evolving or changing. It's not that creative or innovative. Your goal in creating a personal style is what lights you up. So if you're not photographing something that brings you a lot of energy, then you're photographing the wrong thing. You shouldn't be photographing things that don't create energy and passion and connection for you. Once you start doing that and you start to come alive, then it's your job to repeat and to be crystal clear. A recognizable, repeatable, identifiable signature is actually very powerful. It is the thing that will get you hired instead of hiring someone else. And it's true, as soon as you start to narrow what it is that you do or how you do it, you will turn your back on other people. But it's only in making that commitment that you will get hired by the right people, which is your goal. You should not want to appeal to every person, because in trying to appeal to everybody, you'll ultimately end up appealing to nobody. You will be generic. You'll be vanilla. You'll be beige. You'll be right down the middle, which in creativity, in innovation, in entrepreneurship, that's not what people want. That is the last stage of success in any phase, is the blow it out phase, which is not the business that you're in. That is the business that Amazon is, competing on price and on infinitesimally small points of distinction. That is not you as a creator. Taking pictures of what it is that you love and doing so many times that I can look at that and say, oh my gosh, that is definitely a fill in the blank your name. That is the next step in creating the business and or the recognition that you may seek as a creator or as an entrepreneur. All right. My last question. Maybe I'll do a speed round here. I want to recognize that I'm going a couple minutes long on the questions. If you need to bounce, I will say right now, just be sure to try and read step 2 in the process. That is the design process in the book under the D. And where does that start? I'm going to go to the table of contents here up front. Design starts on page 95. So you're going to need to read from 95 to 166. So what is that? 70 pages, something like that, 60-something pages. All right. For those that want to stick around for more questions, I'm going to try and move through a handful really quickly. This one's from Instagram, Jenny Potter. At the moment, with current climate and many photographers and creator people not able to work due to the pandemic, what advice would you give them to help when they are able to get back to work safely? Work on your craft. Strategize. What is it going to look like when you emerge? Imagine what you want your business to be, because probably you're on a hamster wheel just making money doing the thing. Now that most things are paused or we're not yet in a place where we can go back to work, it's a great time to do this exercise with all of your heart. Imagine the biggest vision for yourself, for your business, for your craft that you can possibly imagine. Design a plan to get there, execute against that vision, and then amplify it through this process of joining the community like you're doing right now. It's a great time to strategize. Okay? Great time. Start making pictures in your mind. Is there a way for you to polish your portfolio right now where you might not have had time because you've been on the hamster wheel of client work? Now is a great time to think about transitioning or think about redoing your portfolio. Do you have enough time and money to invest? And does the investment or does your portfolio, can you manifest it in such a way that you do not need to bring 42 people together, that maybe you can do it on your own or with one or two, maybe one model so there's safe social distancing. These are things that I would investigate if I was you. Good question. Thanks, Jenny. Let's see. Tony wants to know how to manage my own path in photography. You're interested in so many areas in the building and in the building and finding your style and taking into just a few interest areas. If you do not know, I feel like you probably do know, but you're scared that it's too small a market or it's too X or too Y. So I think you need to recalibrate. I believe you do know. If you do not know, sample a lot of stuff. Try a bunch of things. You cannot intellectualize this. You cannot do it from the couch. You have to go out and actually do the work. And when you start doing the work, because you might be in love with the concept of photographing weddings or the concept of photographing celebrities, and you're like, well, I can't actually photograph a celebrity. Who's someone you can photograph? Is it a local celebrity? Maybe a celebrity in your small town, or the owner of a restaurant chain, or the head of the, maybe it's someone on the local news. Start doing that kind of work and you'll see if you actually really enjoy it. And if you do, great, pull on that thread. I find that when you don't know what you have to do or what you're put on this planet to do, the only way to understand more what that thing is to take action. Start tasting a lot of stuff. Okay, that's for Tony. And all right, I'm going to answer one more question here and then I'm going to wrap up. And this is from Carmen. Hi, Chase. What's the role of a mentor while working on emulation? That's the second phase of learning, the second step rather, in DEAR: deconstruct, emulate, analyze, and repeat. The role of a mentor while you are emulating them is nothing. They have no role. This is all on you. What you're doing when you're deconstructing is you're deconstructing what your mentor, whether you have a relationship with them or not. Chances are you don't, right? If you're really emulating the people that are where you want to be when you're living your highest version of yourself, your biggest dream, chances are you don't have a relationship with someone who's that far ahead of you, that high up on the totem pole in your industry. I want you to know that's okay. I didn't have that with any of the photographers, with any of the athletes that I wanted to work with any people in my community. I had no relationships. I was a graduate student at the University of Washington doing something I didn't want to do and living this fantasy in my brain, standing in front of the newsstand, looking at outdoor sports, action sports, surf, snow, skateboard magazines. And I was taking notes. Who are these people? What are they doing? What kind of pictures sell? And then I was trying to emulate those people. So the role of the mentor here, they probably don't even know you exist, and that's just fine. Their role is setting example by the work that they've put out in the world, whether it's Brene Brown or Arlen Hamilton or anyone. Their role is them doing them. Your role is looking at people who you think are doing awesome stuff in any given industry, and how can you practice the things that you see in them such that you can taste whether it works or doesn't work, and more importantly, the path for you to inject you into that equation. The role of the mentor is zero. The role of you is to do all of the work right now. And that's what keeps most people from living their dreams. The ability to think big enough, to imagine, and then the ability to do the work. So that's what we're talking about. That's why this class exists. And that wraps up week 2. This is week 2, where we have covered the first step. If the first one was introduction, the first step 1 here in week 2 is imagining what's possible, and whether it's a project or our life or whatever it is, wherever you're taking this class right now, being a part of this book club. Now, I'm going to click over to my notes real quick here and just jot through a couple reminders here. Again, next week's read starts on page, I already said it once, I think I said 95. Oh, yep, 95. Step 2, starting on page 95. Please read that, about 60 or something pages. I would be grateful if you have gotten any value from the book and you're willing to leave a review at Amazon. Please help me. I would love to have 500 reviews of the book, and I only have 250 right now. Number 3, text me. Let's be friends. All right. 206-309-5177. That's my number. Text me. I will respond. And just as an FYI, there may be something special next week for the people who are in my texting circle. Maybe something special, as in I might do something special beyond this broadcast here if you are in my texting circle. 206-309-5177. And I would recommend also you turn on notifications for Insta, because this week we will do a couple of challenges, and the best way to know that that's happening is you turn on notifications for stories and posts. Feel free to invite anybody to join. I hope you've got value. Again, shout out in the comments if this is helpful or useful. I'm happy to take some feedback. The best way to give me that feedback is probably to text me. So another reason to be a part of my chat community. Yes, I will confess that number is not yet open internationally to all markets. That is a limitation of the technology, but new countries are coming online all the time. So feel free to try it. And if not, the best you can do probably is to sign up for my email newsletter. Stay very closely tuned to, of course, Creative Live. There's so many resources there for free. And that is, just pop your email in, register, and then you'll get a bunch of opportunity there. Radonna says, great book club today. Clarity was huge for you. Love hearing that. Repeat the number, please, Ada. 206-309-5177. Put that in the chat if you would. Oh, look at that. Bernie already did that for me. Bernie. Joyce giving a shout out. Ada, Torben, Andy, keep your eyes open. Hakan, Paleo, Becky. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember the Amazon stuff. I read all of those reviews. Remember to chat and text, and get better at imagining what's possible. Once you do this once for yourself, whatever this project is, you will unlock something massive in yourself. This is why some of the entrepreneurs that you look up to, some of the creators, have gone on to create multiple huge, impactful bodies of work, because they've freed themselves from the trapping of what others think. And they've freed themselves from the constraints that historically shape this one precious life. And you can too. Signing off. Thanks so much for being a part of the show today, the broadcast, this book club. I'm thinking about all y'all out there. I want you to take care, be safe, and until next week, signing off. Ciao for now. If you're feeling isolated and looking for creative connection, try tuning into creativelive.com/TV. That's where we've got a 24/7 live stream from the kitchen counters.
I can do that backlit shot that I really like to do.
From the studios and living rooms of many of the world's top creators, where we're doing musical performances, Q&As, cooking shows, virtual book tour events, drawing, spoken word poetry, and more.
Life passed me by waiting for an invitation when the world is greater than my nation or my occupation. Be someone you've never been. You feel all that adrenaline? It's medicine.
It actually helps me feel like my days are more purposeful.
I hope that out of this deep pain will come some collective growth.
Dive into Creative Live TV today. Hey guys, what's up? It's Chase Jarvis, founder and CEO of Creative Live. You all know that we have more than 2,000 classes and more than 10,000 hours of learning, inspiration,